So if you've sold a home over $2 million, our next guest on the RETSY Podcast, you probably know well. It's Andrew Turley from Phoenix Valuations. He is the authority when it comes to appraisals, appraisal rebuttals, and he shares what's happening with the market today. I'm so excited for you to tune in.
I always say a great appraisal at the end of the day is reflecting buyer attitudes and buyer decisions. That's all it should be doing. And those attitudes can shift and change over time when it comes to what people, how they want to live and what they want in their home. And so I'm big on this interaction between, top tier luxury agents and appraisal firms that really want to like have that great hand-to-hand kind of like raising the bar.
Welcome to the RETSY Podcast. Today we're sitting down with Andrew Turley with Phoenix Valuations. Andrew, thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure. It's been a little too long, and I'm ecstatic to be here with you guys.
Oh, thank you for your time.
Well, we're overdue for having you in the hot seat. I mean, one of our very first RETSY meetings back when we were like 20 agents and growing, you came in and did a great speech on the boroughs and the valuations of the high net worth neighborhoods, and I know our agents thoroughly enjoyed it. So
we're just excited to just be hitched to anyone who's elevating their understanding of the market and just changing how luxury real estate, all real estate is being done. So I remember that was at the Arizona Country Club.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, God, we've grown a little bit since then. But it was. So.
Yeah. Was that the same meeting we announced Forbes? Like that was right when
I think you spoke around the same time that Michael from Forbes spoke.
Yeah, I think that's the same meeting. Yeah.
Watershed moment, right?
Yeah.
And you blink and 5 years go by, or however, I don't even know how long it's been.
Yeah.
8, 10.
How many banks are you working with now? And like, I mean, I've seen your business just grow and evolve, and your name is just like, I know anytime I have a contentious property that the appraisal should be questionable, it's like I go to that lender and I'm like, I'll take one of these 3 appraisers, and your name's always on it.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I don't want to force you to use somebody, but like at least one of these 3 will understand the value of this land or this and that, because it's like, us as agents, it's like, first of all, you work your ass off to get the home sold and get offers, and you get it in contract. And then usually you get that first contract and then 2 other contracts come in and you're like, well, yes, this home feels like it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
And then they like use some rate company for their mortgage company. You know who I'm talking about. And they send out the $200 appraiser to the house. And he's looking at something that's $800 a foot. He's never seen an $800 foot house.
This is the nicest home I've ever seen. You're like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
And then you get these appraisals back for like a $2.5 million home where the dirt's worth like $1.6 million, $1.8 million, and he values the dirt at $400,000 and they're $200,000 under the asking price. And it's like, what the hell's going on out there?
It's the Wild West, and getting the right private lenders, finance groups, wealth management groups to build out what we call luxury panel appraisers or complex panel appraisal groups took a long time. And so like we empathize with you, but to your point, we've just done a really great job of marketing with your clients' banks and trying to educate the underwriters and the lenders why a robust, nuanced appraisal is critical to the real estate process. I mean, you talk about it, you work your tail off, and then you get some person from who knows where and doesn't understand Arcadia or PV, and we just say, look, you get what you pay for. Like if the banks are gonna hire someone who doesn't understand the market or doesn't, sit up in their bed at 1 a.m. like I do, thinking about the differences between golf course views versus not. Like it's like a nail in the road to the luxury market. Like clear the roads. Let's make it smooth and professional.
Well, it's like, I know we train our agents and like meet the appraiser, answer their calls, like answer your phone, answer calls and questions about previously closed properties. It puts RETSY in the best light. But also like they don't know what they don't know. Like give them the whole background, everything on why. Let them know you're holding 3 offers, and it's just like send them the front page of them if you need to. Like, but that said, it's just like, it just kind of helps paint the picture. We had one about a year ago. The deal fell apart because they sent out 3 really bad appraisals. Even on the 3rd one, where I'm like, just give me the names of who you're considering, and I can tell you who I'll let in the house.
Right.
At this point, I was kind of like, I didn't know how to aim them towards a top tier appraiser. And the deal fell apart because of it. Because some sellers know that the value of their home, and even when you negotiate, they come down a little bit. It's like if the appraisal is $150,000, nobody wants to make up that delta,
right? And I would say, I mean, you guys have always been at the forefront of having your agents, your corporate culture be prepared to meet the appraiser, and I think that's hugely valuable for an appraiser like me. Now, not all appraisers are open to talking about the data that the agent may bring, or here's the remodel cost, here's this sale on the street that I don't think is a good sale. You guys have always been doing that, and I think that just brings more community transparency and communication that makes a better experience for how to value the home. And the appraisal industry, I'll take one for the team. I'll step on this landmine. We have not done a good job as an industry about public relations and saying, hey, we can talk to the agents. We actually want to engage with them. Call us, like, let's communicate. But a lot of appraisers like to hide behind the firewall of, we need to be objective. We can't be influenced. We already do that when we sign our certification on the appraisal. But when I deal with the agents at RETSY, it's every time organization, here's the back end story of what the home has, doesn't have, here's all the sales you should consider, and let's get into the nitty gritty so that we can like flesh out all the nuances, because real estate is very nuanced at the end of the day. There's a lot of like what I call commoditizing of real estate, like what some of the big, I'm not going to name names, starts with a Z, ends with a W. They want to make everything about dollars per square foot and oversimplify it. And we just say, look, real estate is very nuanced, and let's get into the understanding of what's impacting value. But the relationship between the appraiser and the broker is so critical, because I don't have all the information. Like I'm here as an investigator, and so when you guys show up and your teams show up and they're like prepared to talk about the attributes of the home, I love that, because it makes for a better experience of understanding value, because that's what we're really trying to do.
Oh, for sure. I've gotten a few calls from agents who have worked, had an appraiser come out that don't want to talk to them, don't want to take their packet. And, it's like, so part of me is like, well, what if they took your packet and just threw it away? You don't know what they do with it afterwards, right? Like, I mean, like, I wouldn't.
Well, and some of those appraisers are like, I got to do 5 appraisals today to feed my family, because they're going through those appraisal hubs and this and that and charging nothing. So that's how they end up on the list. And it's like, and they're just burning and turning and don't care. It's like, I just feel like in this industry, there needs to be more focus on taking all appraisers and teaching them about luxury and the difference, right?
Yeah.
When he walks into a house and it's like, you have like walnut drawers or something like that compared to like your MDF Chinese basic import cabinet doors with a pretty face on them. It's like, people need to understand that difference. And a lot of appraisers, they really don't see it. I mean, one thing I know with you, it's like, so we've had a long relationship, and I call Andrew out all the time on houses to do measures. And then sometimes it's like, if I'm butting heads with the seller on the valuation, I'm like, Andrew, can you just do the full appraisal for me? Like, what's the difference? Like, that's happened before. And, but that said, we find square footage on every single house. I mean, I have one that I'm going to have them call you on, but let's go back to, I'm not going to name addresses and names and clients, because you'll be like, yeah, I remember that one. But like, you found like 360 square feet on a house that was $1,000 a foot house.
That's huge.
And after I explained that to the seller, I'm like, I just saved you more than I'm charging you.
Right.
Like in just the end valuation by doing that, suggesting that measure. But there's one I toured yesterday we're going to talk about maybe after the podcast today, but like shows on records 3,400 square feet. He's like, here's my builder plans. You walk this house and I'm like, this feels bigger. This is larger.
Right.
And I know the builder and I know that he likes to add on things. So that said, it's like, it's vitally important.
It's huge. I mean, so just to kind of give you a little background of like the breadth of our work, we've been appraising in the Valley for, I think, 25 years. And I have backed up every appraisal on a digital vault, like multiple terabytes in Oklahoma. I know I'm nerding out. But about 15 years ago, I started noticing, like, I would look at the county tax records and square footage would be X, and then I'd measure it and it would be Y. And so I started kind of going, what is going on here? And then the architect would report X and I laser measured at Y. So the long story short, I went through all of my appraisals once. It was like, this is a while ago. I went through like 10,000 appraisals and I sorted it by Andrew our team laser measured versus what was reported by county or architect. 35% of all homes in the county, totally wrong in square footage. Here's the cool part. I'm gonna nerd out even more. Of that 35%, 90% of the 35%, so like 32% of all homes are inaccurately reported lower than what I measure at. So 90% of the inaccuracy is an underreport by architect or by county. So when we measure, we say a third of all homes in the county are going to be larger by a significant amount. And it's usually 2 to 6% is what we'll find in the Delta. I've had homes, where it was off by like 900 square feet in Paradise Valley. And it's wildly important because these little nuances add up. And how it happens is, we talked about this earlier. Let's say the guy who's trenching for the footer, the architect calls for the plans to be 26 feet, 5 inches. He dug it at 26 feet, 8 inches. And then the next wall is off by 2 or 3 feet. And so these little iterations add up to a big difference. And when you're talking about a market that's 700 a foot to as high as 2,500 a foot, which is what we're seeing in some of these markets that are through the roof, an extra 2 to 5, 600 square feet is a massive difference for whatever you use with that information, right?
And you got to think all the way from the pad prep to the surveyor that goes out and marks the corners of the property, this and that. They know if the client measures that product at the end and the house is smaller, they're going to be mad at the surveyor, they're going to be mad at the builder, they're going to be mad at the footing company, they're going to be mad at the framing company. Right. So it's kind of like, I feel like they all kind of push it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I've ever built a house and had you come out and measure and it was less than what it said on the plans, but it's just, that's the way it works in this industry. If you're a homeowner right now and you're thinking about listing your home, it's like, don't just go off tax records.
Right.
It's like, have a qualified appraiser come out, have Phoenix Valuations come out and do a laser measure. And then you have and the beautiful thing about that also is like, you see in the MLS and you're like, source of square footage, you're like county tax records. And me as an experienced agent, I'm like, it's probably bigger than that.
Yeah.
And then you see source of square footage owner, you're like, it's definitely smaller. It's definitely smaller. And then it's like, when it says appraiser, you're like, you can't really question that. It's like, and then what I also love is like when I hand a Turley appraisal over to a buyer's agent or like a Turley measurement, like a Phoenix valuation measurement, they don't question it. It's just like the whole argument's off the table at that point. Experienced agents know this. Those of you who don't know, maybe you should be taking notes right now, but this is how you maximize the amount you get for your seller.
At the end of the day, like that's what I always tell people. I'm like, I'm here to be an ally in getting maximum value that's defendable and credible to the standards that are the most recent. Like we had talked earlier, like the standard for measuring homes it's an acronym, ANSI. It's pronounced ANSI. They actually changed their standard about 4 years ago where appraisers, surveyors, architects, everyone across the country that reports footage has to now count the stairwells on the first floor and the second. And so we pay attention to these differences. And I was one of the first appraisers, I think, in Arizona that was like, hey, everybody, like this is a big change. Get everything laser measured by us or any other, preferably us. I'm not going to name other appraisal firms, but we just think, you know what? We're in this to help maximize what your client's needs are. And at the end of the day, it's maximizing value and service and understanding of the market. And we're pretty neurotic about it.
Yeah.
So just that little like standards change, like if you've got a second floor basement, like how much square footage could that add?
That's a great question. It's usually between about 100 to 200 square feet, depending on the stairwell. If you think about it, it's like 8 feet by 12 or 10 by 18. So it's a big number.
Yeah, every step up, the platform for the turn and vice versa. Yeah, I see that. So with where you talk about basements, I always love to ask you this question, put you on the spot. Okay,
let's get into
I'm like, all right, let's go.
Let's get into it.
1,000 square foot basement in Arcadia proper, 1,000 square foot basement in PV proper, and 1,000 square foot basement, let's say in Silverleaf, right?
Right.
How do they? What kind of delta are you seeing? Assuming every basement in Arizona is finished out because they're such a unique product. Like my personal basement, like I have a theater and a gym and like paneling, and I shouldn't say I did that, like the previous owner did, but it was pretty awesome. And you got to figure it's finished out nicely. What are you given for valuation? So on the dollar.
Well, first of all, I haven't been invited to watch Top Gun at your theater, so I'm waiting on that invite. But we'll get that on the book soon. For the longest time, there was sort of this like urban myth or wives' tale in the market where a lot of older appraisers, when I first started coming in, they were just saying blanket without any research or any empirical analysis, basements don't add value. They only add half the value. And so, I know it's a long answer, but probably in 2008, 2009, I started saying, let's challenge this information. I started interviewing agents representing their clients because that's qualitative information. And this is what I've been saying forever. The real estate world, when it comes to appraisals, is best performed when appraisers pick up phones and call professionals like you guys or any of your agents so that I can get information about how your clients are acting in terms of what they're valuing a golf course or what we're talking about with a basement. So I started calling agents and I'm like, what do your clients say when they see these basements? Do they feel like it should be valued at the same as the above grade area if it's finished the same way? They all said yes. Yeah. So I had qualitative or anecdotal information. So then what I started doing is I started running statistical analysis. And I found that the basement homes, if they're finished right and they have the right ingress egress, they're trading at like 95% of value of the first level. So there's a little bit of a delta loss, but it's not much. It's a hell of a lot more contributory value-wise than what all the old appraisers were saying 15, 20 years ago. So to answer your question, it's almost identical in terms of value if it's finished the same way. And we found anecdotal data and quantitative data that supports that. So in Silverleaf, Paradise Valley, Arcadia, we would just say it's going to be the same value. If
95% of the main livable level. And
it's close enough where I just say it's literally going to have the same overall contributory values as the footage above grade, meaning above the dirt.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, a lot of these that we're seeing, though, I mean, it's essentially a two-story house sunk in the ground. It's like you go down there, there's 2 ensuite bedrooms with walk-in closets, a game room.
There's good natural light.
Well, because in some of these neighborhoods, you're kind of restricted by setbacks and lot coverage. So in order for a developer to make money, they need to add square footage. The only way to do it is down because the people in these neighborhoods get pissed off when they go up.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And I think the elevation of the homes tend to trade better when it looks single level. I mean, I'm not saying 2-story homes don't trade well, but they do. And I think too, from like an energy perspective, I mean, it's hot.
Yeah.
5 months out of the year going down, it's more efficient.
Makes a ton of sense in Arizona.
But it's also kind of funny when you have somebody come from like Colorado or the Midwest and they're like, wait a minute, like, you guys even count the square footage of the basement? Like they'll list their house and name a city in the Midwest and it's like, they don't even count the square footage of the basement. It just has a checkbox that says has basement.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. There was another misnomer in the market for a number of years when I was kind of like baby appraiser in 2000 coming up. Everyone was saying guest quarters, like, oh, they're only worth half the value. And I started asking agents at RETSY and the top tier agents, and they would say my clients value it the same. And so I started doing research like in 2008, 2007. And I found out that guest quarters are just like basements. They add like 90 to 95% of the same value as the main home. And so we've sort of pushed back on the myths because we just say, okay, you have an opinion, but what's it rooted in? And we want to see it rooted in fact or statistical support.
Yeah, most of the time, I mean, people aren't putting Wolf Sub-Zero in their guest house, although we do have listings that have Wolf Sub-Zero. All right, I retract that statement, but typically when you see a guest house, it's finished at the similar level, same flooring, same window covering, same types of windows, same build structure, but maybe you see GE appliances in there, Bertazzoni or something. Not as expensive as Wolf Sub-Zero, Viking, Thermador, Gagano. This one that I'm going to have you can measure as like a La Cornu range. A lot of people don't realize that.
Wow.
And the valuation difference of a La Cornu range versus a Wolf. So
what is that range? Like 30 to 40 grand sometimes?
If you can get it in 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that high, but it's a matter of like, can you get it in the scarcity, right? Like I know with most builders are like, hey, if you want a La Cornu range, like we need to order it today and I'll just work around it.
And doesn't that come back to like appraisers communicating with builders, developers, and agents that understand the elements in the home that are expensive or they're scarce or they're very difficult to do? And if appraisers don't try to understand that knowledge, how do they know value? Like I've talked to other builders and they're like, Andrew, to cantilever this steel frame to have the overhang not have any buttresses, that was an extra 80 grand. And unless I'm communicating with people in the market, how would I know that? And so we're just big believers like you guys, like let's dig out all the information we can so that we can better report what's in the home, how it's impacting value, is it supported by statistics, and then what's the feedback from the agents? Because you guys, your ears to the train track in terms of like dealing with clients day to day. I always say appraisers, we're kind of like air traffic control. We're above, the ground, and you guys have that really great feedback of what buyers are assigning value to or what they do and don't like. And that's why I always say a great appraisal at the end of the day is reflecting buyer attitudes and buyer decisions. That's all it should be doing. And those attitudes can shift and change over time.
Yeah.
When it comes to how they want to live and what they want in their home. And so I'm big on this interaction between, top tier luxury agents and appraisal firms that really want to like have that great hand-to-hand kind of like raising the bar, bringing it kind of like almost a Wall Street mentality to luxury real estate.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, we're a big believer in that. And it's just, I've seen some of the most innovative approaches to approaching appraisers on different houses. And I know like I'm going to pick on Steph Tarr for my team. She like brings over a package. I'm like, let's not overwhelm them. Like, let's give them the information. Yeah. But she has like the finishes, what the cost of the build was, the levels, the stuff. I mean, like
she's incredible.
She's very, very detail orientated. But that said, it's just like you don't know how deep they're going to go into it. But I think presented properly, and when she tells them like, hey, this took me 3.5 hours to prepare for you.
I love that.
Like
lead with that.
Lead with that, right?
Yeah.
Like. I think it's vitally important. It's a big difference in how you present the total picture and the total package. Because us as salespeople, we're selling the whole time. The first buyer showing,
right.
when we're trying to get that listing, we're selling. It's like, okay, now that we have sold it, we got to sell it again if they're getting a loan and they're with an appraiser. I mean, luckily with RETSY, a lot of our deals are cash. Mm-hmm. I mean, that tends to happen in the upper price ranges, especially with interest rates being high. But, I'm seeing more and more people get loans. Like, and I was talking to Nardekia, and he's saying, like, we're having people refi left and right. Yep. And even like my private client banking relationships, they're just like, things are through the roof. Rates are getting a little bit more competitive. I think the banks are just tired of not lending out money for the last couple of years, that they want to get some stuff off the books. But that said, with that comes a lot of appraisals.
A lot. And I'll tell you, I've said this to other appraisers that I kind of coach and mentor and teach kind of the luxury element to. Mm-hmm. I've said this many times. I go, there's brokers and realtors and agents that know more about the market than you do. This is me speaking to like kind of young, unseasoned appraisers, because folks like Steph and anyone else on like that I've engaged with on your guys' brokerage, super organized, super knowledgeable. I mean, there's information that I get from agents at your guys' group that I would never know or have unless I pick up the phone. And so it's just a different class of how you guys view real estate, and we find that super refreshing because we're appraisal nerds. Like we chop data and run software on stuff that I think is incredibly important, and underwriters are like, really, you wanted to know what the pool bath was worth? Okay, that's great in the work file, but you a little overkill. So it's just a different level of raising the bar, know. And I think the agent that shows up with all of that information, to me, you're going to have that appraiser who probably just wants to show up and get paid and leave. When they see someone that organized, it kind of puts them on notice, like, you better do your job. You're being watched. So I think even if they don't review that information, I think it kind of scares the average appraiser into doing probably a little bit of above average job. So I'm wholeheartedly about the agents that show up with all that information.
Yeah.
Even though it shouldn't have to be that way, but it can be.
So what are you seeing in the markets? Like Matthew and I get a kind of a unique perspective because we get to see top down from RETSY, and we can see which big months are. And it's like, what's funny is like you can see the market moving. I was joking, but not joking. There's, some publicly traded real estate companies, and it's like, the tide does rise everything. I mean, I know our agents focus on the higher tier. But that said, it's like, it's not surprising a lot of these real estate companies are finally reporting first quarter earnings, and they're up. Mm-hmm. And we've seen insane months at RETSY, but like, what are you seeing in the market for valuations? We have an agent, Bradley, who does a call with our agents every week and kind of dives into the macro and dives into every zip code and kind of shows them like, here's appreciation, here's inventory, here's what's happening. What are you seeing across the board, and what are you predicting with everything happening in the Valley?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'm just going to kind of just give you kind of stream of consciousness from Andrew. So what my short answer is, markets are bifurcated. They're very nuanced. It depends on what market, but we're predominantly talking luxury or complex.
Call it over 2 million.
All over 2 million. I see a lot of the fundamentals still very strong in Scottsdale, Arcadia, Paradise Valley, Phoenix. When I say fundamentals, we can talk about high net worth migration. We're in Scottsdale, which is kind of the hub of when people say high end. It's really, Scottsdale's like a blob for like Arcadia, Paradise Valley, Central Phoenix, East Phoenix, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So Scottsdale's number 3 in the entire country for high net worth migration. I think actually Forbes may have reported on that recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Scottsdale Air Park is actually ranked as like one of the 6th busiest airports in the country for amount of takeoffs. No, most people don't know that. And think about who's coming in and going out of that area.
It's not just the training schools. I mean, like you see a Cirrus go off for every 7 private jets you see.
Right.
Well, and JSX is also out of there too.
JSX. And then Barrett-Jackson added a second date for the first time like 2 years ago in Phoenix for the first time in 60 years. I know it sounds like I'm painting kind of like an abstract picture, but you look at our economic GDP expansion, I think per capita, we're like number 2 or number 3 behind Texas, and I think one other state like Florida. So everyone's moving here, but I don't want to say the right people. I want to say the people for our industry are especially gravitating here. High net worth migration is a big part of millionaire growth organically, but also folks who want to live here. So to answer your question, I would say like the luxury market above 2 million, it's sort of bifurcated. The market is extremely strong right now, and I know everyone's saying this over and over again, but it's true. The market, like ultra luxury between like 12 and like 25 million, we've never seen as many transactions trade as we are seeing now. If it's the right house on the right corner with the right finishes, with the right architect and interior designer and so on and so forth. That market's doing extremely well. And it depends on the area too. Like North Scottsdale has been on fire for the last 18 months, and most people aren't really like paying attention to it except me and a handful of other agents that kind of, work that area a lot. Arcadia is still doing extremely well. Paradise Valley is extremely strong. I see, the market, when it came to the conflict in the Middle East, it's sort of like pumped the brakes from late February through mid-March, and now we're seeing activity pick way up because there's so much demand in terms of people moving here, growing their businesses here, and trying to have the Scottsdale, Arcadia, East Phoenix lifestyle. Like it's such a driver for lots of the country relocating here. So the market's extremely strong at the top. I would say the mid-level, which is probably like 5 to 10 million, it's strong, but there's a little bit of oversupply to some degree from Paradise Valley, but that'll work itself out. And then the market really from 2 to 4 million is probably one of the strongest markets. Yeah. If you look at raw sales for luxury volume, the strength of the market's between like 2 to 5 million for all transactions in the last 5 years. So for me, it's like, depends on the price point, it depends on the area. But overall, we're having a watershed moment where Phoenix Metro, and I really mean the core, like where this office is located, we're seeing things change that we're going to look back 10 years from now and be like, that was absolutely remarkable how much wealth was created, moved here, and how prices continue to escalate. So for me, I always look at demand and population influx, and in the luxury side of things, I mean, it's us in Florida that are driving so much. I mean, you have more research than we do on this. So I just think I have a more kind of macro bullish sense to Phoenix as a luxury market than I think most. And I'll give you kind of like, so back in 2009, 10, and 11, I was doing most of the nation's like loss mitigation, appraisal, review work where we were going back through old files that were non-performing that the banks were taking back, Countrywide, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you name it. And I had a team of forensic appraisers. This is a long answer, but it'll make sense here in a second. We had about 50 appraisers, and we did about 275,000 reviews in 5 years. Like an insane amount of tranche of data.
Yeah.
And the markets that fell less than Phoenix and then rebounded the quickest was like San Diego, Dallas-Fort Worth. The reason I say that is there might be people who have concern about, is the market overheated or is there an oversupply? But I had a bird's eye view, and I kept going to my appraisers in San Diego. I'm like, why did the market only fall like 23% and it rebounded so fast? And he goes, it's migration and jobs.
Yeah.
And so now in 2026, 2025, that's what Phoenix leads the country in, pretty much for high net worth migration, really great job economy, pro-business. So for me, my outlook is we might have a little undulation, but overall, in the next 5 years, this is going to be Phoenix.
Yeah.
So long answer, probably to like, word salad, but those are the things that I look at.
I've talked to a lot of people where they're like, it's Phoenix, it's Vegas. I'm going off of a recent conversation. Phoenix, Vegas, Austin.
Yep.
They don't want to go all the way as far east as Florida, right? But they're usually coming from California. This whole wealth tax thing, I think it's going to change perspective. Even with people that are nowhere even close to being able to qualify it, they're freaked out about how far it could go.
Yeah.
And
it's massive. It's massive.
It's like you talk to somebody and you're like, okay, I love Austin, I get it, but Vegas? And then I'm like, not to knock Vegas. Like, I like to go to Vegas, but I like to get the hell out of there in 48 hours.
Yeah, 2 days tops, right?
Stops.
Yeah.
But that said, it's like they don't really have an old town, and they don't.
There's no
have,
culture
like,
there.
They don't really have like spring training there, or like a lot of the things that attract people to the valley. It's like. But, here's the other crazy thing. I would love to know the exact statistics, but I know Chrissy and I work with a prominent sports agent who gives us a lot of baseball player business. And these players are like, I'm just done renting. Like, let me just buy a house and I'm going to just use it for 2 months out of the year. And it sits vacant the rest of the time.
Wow.
And, we see this left and right. And, but what I'm getting at is, it's a super desirable place to live.
It is. And when you look at like infrastructure, cafes, like some of our restaurants are absolutely incredible.
Can we dig into the restaurants? Do you want me to dig into there? Andrew is an investor. Are you okay with me sharing this?
Yeah. Fire away.
He's an investor in some of the most awesome restaurant concepts. So how when we just took Michael there. Michael from Forbes, we found out he was coming into town kind of last second. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, we're going to spend some time together. You're coming in for a podcast. Like, I don't think I gave him an option. Yeah. I'm like, you're coming in for a podcast, but I'm going to take you to a really nice dinner. So I texted him. I don't know how. Like, I got on their website and they didn't have a reservation at the time that I needed it, and I texted you.
We're pretty busy, yeah.
So it's Cleaverman, right?
Yeah, Cleaverman Steakhouse, downtown Phoenix.
And you and I went to Filthy Animal. That was amazing. Like, and I don't know, you're just not used to walking into a restaurant being so goddamn impressed by just like the velvet drapery at the entrance, and then you walk in and the bar just like blows you away. Because I was like, Andrew, I really want to impress Michael because he's been at the nicest restaurants in the nicest countries.
Yeah.
He's the Forbes Global Properties president.
He's
right?
Seen it all.
He's seen it all. And so we get in the car, and ironically, he stayed at the Phoenician. I thought he was staying downtown, so I'm like, this is perfect. Like, he's staying downtown. It'd be like a 5-minute drive, but he's like, yeah, no, we're staying in the Phoenician. There's a huge Forbes event coming next year, so he wanted to test out the Phoenician. That said, I can't say more about that, but picked him up. I'm like, it's a little bit of a drive, but it's worth it. And we get down there in downtown, and dropped off at the curb, walked in.
Yeah.
Thoroughly impressed. And I don't know what you did with the VIP treatment thing, but like
we had our eyes on you.
There were some appetizers that were brought to the table that were like, we didn't order that. And they're like, we know.
Yeah.
They're like, we know, we want you to try this. We want you to try this. And the food was so good. And like, even Matt, with how strict he is on his diet, it's like, awesome. You had a steak with no butter, right?
I did.
And how was it?
It was fantastic.
It was good. Yeah. So the group that started here in really Phoenix is pretty decent concepts. They started Wren and Wolf. So that's kind of their, there was a couple of the restaurants they had before, and they're just big on trying to elevate kind of what we were talking about. Elevate the dining experience so that it's so top notch, from the interior design to the service to the balanced cocktails or mocktails, the food and the location. And they just are hitting it out of the park. And I met with them 3 years ago, and I thought these guys are top notch. They're like whether or not you're a different baseball fan, but they're like the LA Dodgers of the restaurant space in my vision. Similar to how you guys are with your brokerage. It's the same thing. So it made perfect sense. And we're just trying to elevate everything. Yeah. And it's pretty incredible when you hear people that give feedback that have traveled all over.
Yeah.
And not just our restaurants, but I have so many people, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to why would you relocate to Vegas over Phoenix? Phoenix has such a great restaurant culture. Like for pound, I think we punch way above our weight class. Like my wife's from LA, and I remind her often, I'm like, your town is great for the beach, but food-wise, it's pretty underwhelming. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So it's when I hear people moving to Phoenix, for me, it's like, it makes sense because of the jobs, but it's a lifestyle thing. I mean, you have the Phoenix Open, you have Barrett Jackson, you have spring training, you have all these incredible like restaurants and lifestyle options. It makes so much sense. And when you look at the areas that are losing the most outbound migration, people who are leaving, the top 3 areas are Southern California, New York, and Chicago. And they're fleeing because of the wealth tax issue, how they're just have this huge burden of tax and they don't see really any benefit to it. And then a lot of it is safety. Like I have a client who just relocated from, I can't say too much, we relocated from Beverly Hills, a titan of his own industry. I won't say what industry he's in, but he took his whole team of like 280 employees and they relocated from Beverly Hills to Paradise Valley. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, what were the reasons you moved here? And he's up in that, upper echelon of success. And he said to me, number one, privacy and safety. I felt unsafe in Beverly Hills, like one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. He's like, my home was broken into multiple times. The police department acted like it was something that just happens and deal with it. And then the other thing he said was, outside of lifestyle, he said, actually, and I think this is fascinating, he said, you have one of the best healthcare facilities in America at the Institute, Clinic. The Mayo Clinic. Yeah. And so there's just these things that, like, when you kind of look at Phoenix, there's a reason why people are moving here. It's very nuanced and it's super cool. And it's great to be a part of seeing this like shift, because you talk about TSMC. I mean, it's like one of the costliest private construction projects in the entire world. I mean, there's just so many great things that are driving this market. So long story short, I'm bullish on the market long term, especially over 2 million. There's a lot to be proud of living in Phoenix. Yeah. Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arcadia.
Well, we'd hit on the restaurant thing. I mean, primarily because it's just like our next door neighbors are some of our best friends, and my wife and Jay's wife, like Stephanie, they're always trying to find a new restaurant, so we just try all these new restaurants. I swear the list is growing of the number of new restaurants open, and quicker than we can find a time once a month to go out to eat.
And we're getting the bigger national brands like Elefante, Din Tai Fung. I mean, I don't want to name my competition, but like we're everyone's looking at Phoenix like that is the incubator for if you want to bring a killer restaurant from Miami or Vegas or whatever, you go there, because that culture of people who live there love the scene. It's super cool.
There was one,
and that ties in with luxury too. We just want to have a great lifestyle, right?
And like they're good. Like I was so used to restaurants opening, and it's just they're bad. But like everything that's opening now, it's like a whole different level. You mentioned Elefante. I mean, like great service, great food. The pricing's fair. It's like it's a wonderful place to eat. There was another one recently. My wife had to convince me to go to it because she's vegetarian. And it's like they have vegan and vegetarian friendly menus. I'm like, all right, we'll go.
Well, and like
Pinion.
I heard Pinion's insane. I haven't been
the
yet.
views, the food. I mean, I ordered a steak, and I'm like, it was just delicious. It's like, but a lot of places just don't have that.
I know. Phoenix is incredible, and we'd be remiss to not mention. I mean, Sam Fox was the first guy to really like.
He was the innovator.
He's the GOAT, right? Of like bringing that to a whole new level, and he's an Arizona native from what I understand. Or it started in Tucson, I think, but super cool.
See him at pickleball on Tuesday nights.
Shout out to the GOAT.
Very competitive at everything, but awesome. But he. I mean, his Fox restaurant concepts are just genius, and they did great, and they were different. And
he ushered in a whole new era, and then you're seeing that kind of being added to. It's like with you guys. I've been saying this with the marketing, the media, the approach to trying to understand the value, your corporate culture. Like, you guys ushered in an entire new era that I felt like the luxury market just wanted so badly, and that's why it's so like badass for me to be associated with your guys' group, because we're trying to do that in the appraisal world on a small level, and it's just I like being around this culture of like, let's keep pushing the envelope and making it better, and being humble and looking at it like, how can we evolve, right? Let's not be stale. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. All right, I got one question I wanted to ask you. What's something you're getting a house on the market? Let's say it's a 6-year-old house or a refresh. I mean, how much of a difference does it make in value, and what updates should people be focusing on? Like kitchen, bathrooms, or like I've been telling a lot of sellers lately, it's kind of like it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like if you just remodel the kitchen, but the bathrooms are dated, it's like you're a tweener, right? Like how do you, so we in real estate, we call it like the teardowns, the tweeners, and then there's new construction. And that delta. And
there's no like variance, dude.
Yeah, the teardown and tweener variance is like nominal, right? But then it's like when it's fully remodeled, everything's done. I mean, you're fetching like $300-$400 a foot more for this house.
Right.
What are you finding? Like,
so
is it worth it to remodel a house?
Yeah, I mean, so the challenge is obviously controlling costs, right? When you got to have a great builder who's going to deliver quality and timeliness, right? So let me back up. I think it's fascinating that like new construction is the king of real estate, right? If it's on the right street, it's designed correctly, and it's amazing. What we found is when you compare new construction, like literally a year or two old, that's it. And then you find a home that's been really well remodeled to kind of the same level finish-wise of new construction. The delta between a great remodel, and it's all the way through, not just the kitchen, that's about an 8 to 12% delta. So to make it simple, new construction, let's say Arcadia, is $1,100 a foot. I'm just using that example. If you have an incredible remodeled home that was like maybe built in the 80s, but they like gutted it and like took it down to the studs and did it right, that's probably going to sell at like $970 a foot.
I'd agree completely. Yeah.
You know, but to your point, it's an all or nothing game, right? Yeah. Like you can't leave finishes that kind of hint of the mid 2000s, even though if it's expensive travertine, like, or, you know, Ubatuba granite, like no one wants to see that. And it's hard for a lot of like homeowners to swallow that pill and go, yeah, it was great 15 years ago, but that's not what the market wants. And the market shifts so fast. And I would say this, back in the day, I used to be able to do the Pepsi blind test where I could look at an elevation of a home and I go, that's 50s, that's 60s, that's 80s, that's 70s. Dude, that's 90s.
Yeah.
That's 2000s. Yeah. And now when I look at homes, there's so much sharing of social media and consumption of design styles, TV shows, podcasts, of information. I see design styles shifting in like 2 to 3 year windows when it used to be like a decade. I could be like, that's that decade. That's that decade. And now I think because we're consuming information and design and real estate, people are like pushing the envelope faster. And I think that's ultimately really fascinating. But as an appraiser, I have to be sensitive to what your agents are saying that your clients want. Like I'm hearing more agents at RETSY, they'll telling me, you know, modern has definitely its position in the market, but my clients are wanting something a little more warm, a little more timeless, a little more millwork and wallpaper. They don't want as much modern that we saw during kind of the post-COVID era. So I think that's fascinating.
Modern dominated for a long time. It was the highest price per square foot, and then people started to soften it up, and the demand's there. It's funny you say this because I challenge our architects. I mean, we just recently did a project with Stratton Andrews, who's amazing. Damon Wake, who's also amazing. And it's like...
Does Damon do design or is he architect?
Architect,
Okay.
But that said, he works really closely with the designer. And I'm like, I want a house that you can look at it and 20 years from now or 10 years ago, you can't tell the era it was built in. It just looks nice. And they've just nailed it on a few different projects. And... that's the biggest challenge in our market.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What makes it feel timeless? Like if you had to describe it, like it could be anything, finishes, whatever. Like what feels timeless to you? Because I have a theory, and I wonder if you're going to say what I think is my hypothesis.
For me, it's just like that classic look. I mean, you've been to my house. So I wanted the street view to look like the house was built in the 50s, even though we gutted the whole interior, right? Because I love that. It's timeless, like, right? Yeah. Like you can say, yeah, that home was built in the 50s, but clearly they've done some really nice things with it, right?
Right.
For me, that's timeless. It's spending a lot of money to make things look older. You know, it's like finding the old Chicago brick or finding that limestone that you don't know if that's been there for 100 years or 2 weeks, you know? And it's like, have you been through Jen Burgess's new listing that she helped remodel?
It's
completely timeless. Like you walk in and you're like, I can smell that it's brand new, but it's classy. It's designed well. It's like, that's something that will last the test of time, you know? But then it's like you walk into, I'm not going to name the builder, but they did a bunch of stuff in Arcadia at the same time. And everything had white cabinets, had the same floor plan, had the white quartzite countertops, and all the bathrooms had the same tile. And it's like, I'm like, wow, we can pick 2021
you can pick
to
an era.
22, like just by looking at the house from the street. Because remember, they called us in. They're like, our sales are stagnant. I'm like, because I'm just saying, I'm like, all your shit looks the same.
Yeah, it looks the same.
Like I could drive down the street and identify one of your houses, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like you gotta change things up, and they have. I mean, they've done a really good job since that meeting. Like they brought us in, bought us lunch, and then we just completely insulted them.
I don't feel like we insulted them. I mean, like,
even you got a little bit nervous with what I was saying. Matthew was like, and I'm like, yeah, it all looks the same. You got to change this. You got to change that. You got to, like, if you want to push price point, like you're doing cookie cutter, and it's not looking.
Yeah,
good.
but you're giving them facts of what will help them, and if it's hard to hear, like one of my favorite things John McCain said once, he said, facts are really stubborn. Like, even if it's hard to hear, like you're trying to help steer them in the right direction to have the most success, right?
Yeah.
For me, I think timeless is, are you authentic in your approach, and did you take it all the way? And then the other thing that a timeless home feels like, from the attributes that I notice over and over again for the homes that like everyone goes crazy over, and it's a Scrabble word. It's the word fenestration. And I've said this a million times at your guys' like kind of when we present to your agents, but it's a word for natural light. And the homes that allow a lot of natural light into the space, whatever the style is, Spanish Revival, classical modernism, those homes, people always say, I feel really serene, or it feels very timeless. And I think my theory is, I'm going to nerd out, I think we're creatures of wanting to be outside, and we love Mother Nature. Like, and so these homes that draw the outside in and have beautiful grounds, whatever the style is, as long as that natural light's hitting the house on the inside, and you don't have to turn on lights to like see your way around the home. Those homes I see over and over again. They sell quick, people love them, and they say, oh, it's a timeless design home. And the architects in the 1950s, the Al Beadles and the Benny Gonzaleses and the Jerry Meeks, those guys understood and did sun studies. And if you look at those old classic, badass, classical, mid-century modern homes, big open windows, long overhangs, and the sun is not drilling the inside of the home, but you're bringing all that natural light in. And I'm not saying modernism is like my baby. Like, I love all styles. But I think that's one element, is like, be true to your style. Like, if you want to be Cape Cod, like, go all the way and make it really personal, and don't try to copy whatever's hot in the moment, and then nail the natural light.
Yeah.
That's kind of my vibe for timeless homes.
While you were explaining that, I was thinking about Jen's listing. Like, how much natural light
there's
does
a lot
that
of
have?
natural light there.
Right.
We have that one on 57th. I don't know if you've been through it, but the I had a showing there the other day.
Back to the church, no?
Back to the church, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think Damon nailed it on it, because the placement of the window. I mean, he planned everything out. He could show me where the shadow would hit the great room
So awesome.
throughout the summer and what times of the days. And I had a showing the other day where they're like, I love everything. I love the lights. And I'm like, you want to see something cool? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I hit one button in the laundry room, right? Shuts down all the lights in the house, right? I'm like, now walk it with the natural light.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's actually better
That's
with the
what's
natural
up.
light. Even at 6 p.m. at night, like the natural light makes all the difference in the world, because that's how you live in your house. You don't wake up in the morning, turn every light on in a dim house.
Right.
Well, my kids do, but like,
Let me have my espresso in peace.
it's like, I know, it's like sometimes like, but that said, it's just like natural light.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world if you can plan it properly. And we all know the homes that struggle to sell are those boxes where there isn't a lot of natural light. And modern usually lends to larger windows, pitch frame windows, lots of natural light. I think it does help a lot.
And I would say this too, like we were bragging about Phoenix earlier, culturally and economically, and like all the great things that are going on in Phoenix. But I'm a part of an organization called Relocation and Complex Appraisers Association. It's a peer review, invite only group of like 80 appraisers that control all of the class action lawsuits, the post-Hurricane Katrina appraisals, the like $300 million homes in Palm Beach. So me and two other appraisers represent all of Arizona. Love that group. They're incredible. They keep teaching me that even though I think I know some things, they're like, you're just getting started, kid. You gotta get better and refine the process. And I talk to appraisers who are in San Francisco in this group and New York and Chicago. I'm like, yeah, you have those $200 million sales of some penthouse in New York. I go, but architecturally and design-wise, I'm like, Phoenix is probably one of the coolest markets in terms of the homes that are being pulled out of the ground that are truly special. Like, we live in a market, world-class architects, world-class designers, incredible scale and scope, and it's something that I think, like, the country's really starting to appreciate. Because my point to my colleagues in Manhattan, I'm like, you might have the highest sale, but your home, dude, your builder would take 5 years to build what we're building in 3. Like, you can't construct what we're constructing in Phoenix with some of these really choice estates. And they don't have to be big. Like, I'm seeing homes that like are more patio home that are just badass that some of these builders are building, right? They're just digging out the basement like we talked about and just thinking of the outside, how it lives, where to put the elevator, all these just amazing elements that I think it's cool to see Phoenix really grow up and become an international and nationally recognized market from when it comes to housing. The actual homes are pretty freaking special. It's cool to be a part of.
So,
I kick rocks on my Manhattan appraisers that think they're cool. I'm like, your homes suck, dude. The views are cool and the Park Avenue is great, but like, that house is nothing compared to this home, dude.
Yeah. I mean, just the innovation and what we're seeing. So we had Joel Contreras on the podcast episode. And, like, what was funny is, like, I knew of him and I've seen a couple of his houses, but I truly had never been on his website till he was on the podcast. And I'm on his website, I'm looking through these homes. I'm like, I remember that one. I remember that one. He was taking like some albedo homes and just something the whole neighborhood hated for about a month. And then now it's like the standard, right? And like, there's very few people that have that vision. But yeah, I did completely agree. Yeah. Like, I mean, you go in the Valley and you're seeing 20, 30, $50 million sales now. I mean, like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I mean, if you would have taken me back 15 years ago, I'd never think we'd see those types of numbers in the Valley.
Right?
But we're seeing them.
So what do you think is driving that? Like, what's the, like, I know we've hit on a lot of it. Like, what's your experience? Like, why is that happening? Like, we're seeing this whole new, like, upper echelon of, like, pricing being smashed over and over again.
It's funny. So I got my real estate license when I was 18. Been doing this 25 years, right? Back when I got my real estate license, it was like, your entry-level home in a Beezer community or KB Homes, Cupping Road back then, was like 70 to 90,000. You can buy a nice house, and then it's like, oh, you want to be in Arcadia, it's going to be like 3 to 5, 3 to maybe 500,000. And then it's like, if you can buy a nice house in PV for $400,000, right? And then it's like, and then like you could have a really nice house for $800,000 to $1 million in PV. And it was just like, that was like the norm for what seemed like an entire decade.
Right, forever.
And then, it's just like costs started going up, build costs started going up. And what I found is like, it all ties to inflation and costs. And I mean, I remember my first house I built in Arcadia, we went over budget and we were $120 a foot. Now it's like you can't find a builder to touch a project for under $500 a foot that's going to be decent, right? And I think it's going to continue to grow. And as long as cost to build something continues to go up and the demand in these infill areas, and there's less and less homes to pick from.
Yeah.
It's
that's like the other thing is like we're starting to gobble up like most of the best land.
My first lot that I bought in Arcadia, this is what cost Kelly and I to move to Arcadia, was $340,000, right? It was on Lafayette and 57th.
For $340,000?
And it came with the plans, and the guy begged me to buy it. So then I'm like, all right, babe, we're going to build this house, and Kelly's like, we have Avery, Kelly's pregnant with Warner, and she drives in this neighborhood, and she's like, I've always wanted our kids to go to Hobie. So it was like my best investment flip that I could have ever had. We moved right into it. But like,
That's crazy.
we fell in love with the neighborhood. But I can go back and I'm like, well, it's like we're still building with same types of windows,
I know,
maybe a little bit better
a little
now.
better.
Like I gel one back there. Now we're all Sierra Pacific, Pella.
Yeah.
Anderson's doing an amazing job. I'm
Anderson's
seeing
doing a
more
good
and more of
job.
those.
Yeah.
But I think the cost of build is going to continue to push the market, right? Because cost of replacement is, right?
And obviously, like we talked about, like just the people who are moving here. Like there was another statistic I wanted to mention earlier, and I just came back and you jogged my memory. I don't want to name the online group who put this information out because I think they do a lot of damage in real estate, but they have some really cool analytics. And they reported that the 85018 zip code, I want to say like 3 years ago, was the #1 zip code in America for people who were doing online searches like their per capita search for online queries outside of the 85018 were looking to move into the Camelback corridor for like a period of like 120 days. Yeah. So it's just fascinating to see like how we are becoming like an international national destination, and that's what's driving pricing. It's truly remarkable.
And I think we're going back to innovation. I mean, like I'm seeing stuff that I've never seen before. We reshot our partner photo at a beautiful listing that Babby and Lisa have up in North Scottsdale.
I would
consider this North Scottsdale because you take a right on, I think, Pinnacle Peak and then go until it ends.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get there and you're just so impressed by this house. And we're standing there and it's like, and the pool's impressive. And then I'm like, why is there a cutout in the pavers? Oh, that's because like an 80-inch television comes out of the ground. So when you're swimming, you can watch sports.
And it spins around so you could watch it from the cabana.
Oh, yeah. You
too,
can also
right?
watch it from the cabana because it spins around. Yeah. And then I was like thinking, this would be a great like video. Like how much weight can this thing support? We could have everybody stand on it and raise them.
I don't think that's a great idea.
Lisa wouldn't let me do it, but
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and you look at like how we live today, and I look at like how people lived in like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies in the 1920s. I'm like, we all live like kings. Like it's when you talk about some of the things that we're exposed to, it's pretty remarkable. And like when you talk about innovation, I want to say one thing about our team at Phoenix Valuations. So we use a really great legacy software. The reason partly that we're separated kind of from the other appraisal firms is my reports have more information than any other appraisal firm in town. To give you a really simple snapshot, most appraisers hand input 3 to 4 comparable sales. Our reports have between 9 and 12, sometimes 15. And then we do that. We value what is the value of time. How is the market shifting? Because when you're doing an appraisal, you're plowing a field looking backwards and accounting for economic change to today's effective date. So if the market went up 6% last year and my software tells me that, I know I got to account for a comp 4 months ago. I got to adjust it up 2%, 0.5% per month. And a lot of appraisers aren't doing that. But the good appraisal firms, and there's a couple other in town that do it like we do, we're just saying here, like reflect the market as best as possible, use the best software, have the most robust information, study land. Land is incredibly important. And you're going to deliver a product that underwriters and clients and homeowners really appreciate. If they're educated on it, number one, we got to bring awareness. And then number two, you deliver on that. I mean, I've got chief appraisers from like Goldman Sachs and UBS Bank that have literally picked up the phone and been like, I have been reviewing luxury residential appraisals for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like you guys are doing. Like,
well, it's like
we're trying to raise the bar.
You then show what's happening in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Then you show what's happening in the county, and then what's happening in the state.
Exactly. You get all the layers.
Yeah, you're right. Like I've looked at a lot of appraisals, yours included.
They're pretty naked.
One of the few that does it like that, so that whoever's lending that money or whoever's trying to get the valuation can feel comfortable in the asset, that they're not in a market that could implode.
It gives you confidence that the research was done correctly. It's rooted in credible data. And like we've always said, the saying is always location, location, location. Everyone says that in real estate.
Yeah.
And then like 15 years ago, I'm like, well, why are we, when I say we, I'm talking about appraisers, why are we not studying land? Land is the truest form of location. When no house exists and you got the zoning and the density and the topography and the site size nailed, now we can talk about why is someone jumping from east of Tatum versus west of Tatum, or how is the market on Lafayette different than a interior lot in Arcadia? How is the market being impacted? So what we've always said is like study the land. And so I'm just going to kind of raise our flag and say why we're different and why we're great. In 2023, I put together a case study that I gave to the Phoenix Business Journal. I don't know if I can. Oh, I may have to edit that out. I can say that.
You're
Okay.
fine. Yeah. We're close to the Phoenix Business Journal.
They're incredible like ally in like getting real estate knowledge out to the mass. But I would have agents from like RETSY. You guys would call and be like, hey, I want to know my client's looking at buying a piece of land. What is the value of a 1 acre lot west of Tatum versus east? And I'd get that question, or I'd get like, what is the elevated lot view worth? And so I would start studying land by hand. And then one day I'm like, I'm just going to like put together a map that delivers what is the most vanilla lot in this borough of Paradise Valley. What is it most likely worth if it doesn't have traffic and it's not a weird lot? And so we put together kind of this heat map that looks like a monopoly board to give the Phoenix Business Journal this layout of how location is very nuanced in Paradise Valley. It's like an onion. And lo and behold, I gave it to them. I probably should have done a bigger like press release because I thought it was a big deal, but I'm like, I don't know if this is helpful, but it's helpful for me and my clients like you guys. And lo and behold, it was like the most read residential article on their website in 2023. And it's because we studied land. And I would call agents like at your guys' group and I'd say, hey, I think the land is worth $4 million north of Lincoln, east of Tatum, west of 64th, elevated lot. I think it's worth $4 million. What do you think? And they go, yeah, it is. And so then I put it together and we delivered on that. And all we're saying is, let's just bring an element of the people who are in real estate who want to raise the bar and just give more transparency because the consumer in the luxury space demands it more than ever. So we think it's important, and we're nerds and we study this stuff. And you guys are incredibly like an ally in that respect because I have to rely on the boots on the ground feedback. Because when you have a theory in appraising, you're very like 30,000 feet up, like I talked about earlier, and I can call your agents and be like, "This is what I'm seeing. Is this really happening?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's what my clients are willing to pay." Yeah. And then we have more knowledge, and everybody is in a more credible, transparent way where we have trust. Because at the end of the day, an appraisal is trying to build a good appraisal is really trying to build trust in the market, like you talked about earlier. Yeah. You know.
All right.
I know it's a mouthful, but
we're getting close on time, and there's a question I want to sneak in. Yeah. We're not going to do the Matthew questions today. The back in time, this and that. But what's the most expensive home you've appraised in the Valley? And not where it is, who it is, but just the dollar amount.
We did an appraisal recently for $37 million.
Wow.
And it was for an off-market consideration of two market participants who are looking to pay cash and they don't want it known. So they're like, we want the best of the best, and we felt we were supported in that valuation. It was a truly unique home.
Very cool.
I'm guessing it's on that street named after a movie, but we're not going to. We know the house. Yeah. No, that's a great sale. Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming in, sharing your knowledge. Also, I want to get that heat map from the Business Journal. Jack, I'll send it to you. I'd like to overlay it when we're talking on the video so people can see that. I remember I forwarded it out to all of our agents when it came out because it was a really good read and it was well written and everything. So we'll share that. But do you want to share with everybody how do they get a hold of you? Yeah, I'm sure you're not going to give your mobile number, but
so if you go
Kathleen's fair game.
Kathleen's fair game. You can attack her email. So if you go to www.phoenixvaluations.com, it all runs together, phoenixvaluations.com, or call our office, 480-634-5980. You'll get a hold of Kathleen. She is literally the engine that makes us go. Yep. And like you
and I are friends, and I'll still contact Kathleen when I need something. Because I mean, literally, you wake up and you're appraisal, and then you get back to me at like 6 o'clock. You're like, sorry, dude, busy day. I'm like, I would imagine it is.
I mean, you know how it is. It's who you work with. And then I have another great appraiser who works with me. His name is Kendall Schmitz. I have to name him. He's absolutely incredible. He's better than most like appraisers in the state, and not a lot of people knows that he works for us, and he kicks so much butt. So we have a great team. That's how you get a hold of us. Yeah, we just want to be an ally in your journey in any way. Laser measurements, off-market appraisals. We write appraisal rebuttals. We do a lot of expert witness work, whatever it is. So yeah, that's us.
Well, thank you.
Dude, thanks for
coming in,
having me,
Andrew.
man. This was
This was a
good.
good day.
This was awesome.
This is awesome.
That wraps up this week's episode of the RETSY Podcast. Thanks for listening. Check out the show notes to connect with Andrew. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast. And please subscribe so you never miss what's next. Next week, Chris and Matt are sitting down with designer Erin V. Here's a sneak preview.
I think that people, especially at that luxury level, they want a point of view. And although it's spec and you want to cast a wide net, I don't want to be the same as every house on the block. Like, I'm not trying to be like a luxury version of everybody else that's out there, because then you're just a master plan community. And I feel like that's what you see a lot in the spec world is, oh, it looks exactly the same as everybody else's, you know?